Britain is the largest European investor in the Philippines, with total investments in 2015 north of $1.2 billion. Now, for the 2 weeks last month, the British Chamber of Commerce in the Philippines participated in the Britain and Southeast Asia, or BISEA Roadshow, in the UK. So what's come out of that roadshow? Chris Nelson, chairman of the Chamber here in the Philippines, now joins us live from our Rockwell studio. Always good to have you with us, Chris. Thanks for joining.
Yes, good morning, and very nice to be here again.
Okay, so Chris, I heard you had meetings with over 80 companies who are very interested in doing business in the Philippines. Give us an idea, which sectors do they belong to? Which certain industries saw strong interest? And how big are these companies?
Okay, so first of all, in terms of sectors, the interest was in education, health and beauty products, food and drink, consulting, specialized machinery, and renewable energy. In terms of the size, I have to classify it as before we focus on small to medium-sized enterprises, but there was a lot of interest, and I think this just culminates in all the work that's been going on, and we're now following up with these companies for the next steps.
And what would the next steps be? I know that some of the companies are very excited. They want to visit the Philippines as early as January next year.
Yeah, correct. So I think what's going to happen is what we do is we had a series of meetings across the UK, ranging from London to Birmingham, Manchester, Leeds. These are major cities. Now, of course, what we do is we follow up to more clearly understand the needs of those companies. And as you appreciate, obviously, we're coming towards the end of the year with Christmas. So logically, we're scheduling any future visits will be Jan/February.
Chris, with the Brexit soap opera, as many people call it, very much in the spotlight, the finale, of course, expected March 2019, did you get the impression that the fact that there is Brexit, it's just making the case for investing in Asia even stronger?
I would say so. I mean, I think it's given an added impetus. I've said that before. I mean, there's been a strong focus, I think, in Asia. Let's not forget, I was there in Southeast Asia with a number of chambers on this particular roadshow, and there is a strong interest in Southeast Asia. And I think companies, of course, are looking to see where they can develop their export markets. So yes, I do agree with you, but also I believe it's part of the strong news coming from here, the economic growth of the Philippines, and the work that's been done about obviously publicizing both by the embassy and by the Philippine embassy there and by trade and investment in general.
And I know that you were with other heads of the other chambers, British Chambers of Commerce in Southeast Asia. I'm pretty sure you got to exchange notes. What were some of the key takeaways you got from your dealings with the heads of the other chambers from other parts of the region?
Well, yeah, we were there with the 6 chambers, ranging from Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam, Myanmar. I think what they see is obviously some sectors are quite similar. For example, education features quite strongly, I believe. Also food and drink, businesses looking for opportunities. And I think in general, we're working closer with our colleagues in BISEA. And I also would make this point, actually, if a company has done business in one of the other Southeast Asian markets, they're more likely to come to the Philippines. We just had that recently with a company. So I think it works very well for us. And I just also like to put in that I also attended, while I was in London, the ASEAN at 50, which was a celebration of ASEAN, and obviously the strong support that the UK has to ASEAN, and also, of course, seeing that develop as an economic bloc going forward.
Chris, you mentioned your peers, the other heads of the other chambers of British Chambers of Commerce in Southeast Asia. Were you able to gauge which country do you think is the biggest competitor of the Philippines when it comes to investments?
I would probably say, from what I've seen or observed, I'd probably say it's Vietnam.
Because?
I think Vietnam is... Well, I think they've attracted a lot of foreign investment. There seems to be a lot of interest in there as well. I think it's obviously attracted a number of and it's had recently very good economic development. So I'd say Vietnam. But I would say overall, actually, there is competition, but also competition helps to bring people here as well. So I actually look at it in a positive sense, actually, that, we're part of the ASEAN bloc, we're part of Southeast Asia, and I do strongly believe that we have the opportunities and talents in the country to gain and prosper as part of that, even though, of course, others will also have attractions.
And was political noise from our president's tirades against the EU, which happened while you were on that trip, ever brought up during your meetings?
No, it wasn't actually. I will tell you now, actually, the two key things all companies always ask, obviously, is what is the business opportunities we see for their products or services. And the number one question always, consistently, is ease of doing business. How do I go into the market? What is the best way of approaching it? This is the number one concerning question.
And Chris, I know you're hosting today a joint membership meeting together with the Makati Business Club with Ambassador Daniel Cruz. This is the first time he's addressing the business community here in the Philippines. What key message do you think will be delivered today? Or are there any hot button issues that you expect will be brought up?
I expect, well, first of all, yes, we're very pleased. There's going to be a joint meeting. There's going to be over 100 people, including not just NBC, but the Philippine British Business Council. We're expecting the ambassador to continue on, obviously, the focus, all the work that's been going on. I think what he'll emphasize on the trade and investment side is that the UK's keen interest to continue to grow the business here. We've seen that. We've obviously seen investments also from the Philippines back into the UK, White Macquarie, Corn through Mondaneson. And I just would add that there's a couple of companies that I met that are also interested in doing sourcing from here, and we gave that information to Philippine Trade and Investment. And I think, as you mentioned earlier on, I think the UK is the largest European investor, and I think it continues to be so, and I'm sure he's going to emphasize the momentum that we currently have, and we intend to continue to grow from there.
And finally, Chris, outside of the BISEA Roadshow and the meeting today, are there any new investments from British companies on the horizon for the Philippines over the next couple of quarters or months?
I can't say anything definite, but I would tell you this much. We've already had over 1,500 companies taking interest in 4 years. I expect from our roadshow that we're going to have people come here and visit. And I strongly suspect that we're going to continue to grow and have more companies establish business.
Okay, on that very optimistic note, thank you very much, Chris, for joining us this morning and for sharing the latest developments from that roadshow. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you again.